governing board of our commission cable is now in session for June 2nd, 1993, and with that I'll ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
Cratland Johnson. Panay. Collin. Here. Costanis.
Here.
Cox. Yee.
Here.
Toby Johnson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum, so we're prepared to open our meeting and begin our day's business. With that, we don't have any minutes or anything to...
No, sir. The agenda summary is approved automatically,
Okay.
unless otherwise stated.
Used to approving minutes. We'll go directly to item number 1, franchisee licensee status report, Cable Act implementation. B, other comments. Okay.
Chairman, members, I recommend you take this directly to whoever the spokespersons today for SAC Cable. This is the opportunity for SAC Cable and your licensee, if you wish, to present information to you.
Okay. Jim?
Good afternoon, Chairman and Cable Commission. I guess today I'm going to make an effort to cover an awful lot of subjects and tell you and update you where we are. You're getting a folder right now that basically has all the information that I'm going to cover, copies of disclosure statements and various informative pieces, and we'll identify them for you as we go through this, and then I'll open it up for any questions you may have.
I was wondering if they recruited you to answer the telephone yesterday.
I did it. I also took care of a few customers in the lobby, and it's been a busy 2 days.
Good.
And we're very happy about it. First of all, the cable company has and will be only distributing approximately 30,000 converters. The article in today's newspaper is inaccurate.
65,000, was it?
We do not have any effect on 60,000 customers. We have currently, to this date, distributed just under 10,000 converters in 2 days. We will distribute 19,156 more converters for all of our cable-ready customers that are going to be scrambled on October 1st, or they will, of course, will have that option to lower their level of service to limited basic and be able to operate their television set on the first 29 channels without any converter box needed. As of today, like I said, we've distributed just under 10,000 converters, and I have a little bit of an exhibit here that identifies the rollout of all of our changes and when we did them. And let me see if I can identify that one for you. Excuse me a second. It looks like this.
We have it.
Okay. Basically, as you can see, on August 20th, we announced a newsletter with a disclosure. On August 23rd, we started our telemarketing to over 30,000 of our customers that do not have converter boxes, making them their offer. We then sent them a postcard such as this, and the postcard was very easily identified, telling them to come into our office or any one of now, of course, 8 locations on the back here that identify 8 locations where they can pick up boxes on the weekend or come to our office Monday through Friday. We have had tremendous response. Last Saturday alone at our locations like Birdcage and other areas like that, we have distributed over 4,000 boxes in one day. Then on August the 28th, we opened up the 8 locations. On August the 22nd, we sent a second disclosure retransmission consent update, which identified all of the must-carry and retransmission issues. At that time, we only had one retransmission, I should say one must-carry, and that was 58 that has agreed to be carried on Sacramento Cable. Effective today, we have 2 now, Channel 31, which now is concluded with our retransmission, and we still are waiting to conclude negotiations with Channel 3, Channel 10, Channel 13, and Channel 40. I am extremely optimistic that we will reach an agreement on all but possibly one. On September 1st, we aired a 30-minute infomercial that began at 7 p.m. and runs until 7 a.m. every day. And at this time, if I could, I'd like to give you a little outtake of that infomercial, if it's all right.
We have a new television star about to come forth too, I think, don't we?
Television store. Star. Yes, Miss Darby Patterson, excuse me. Excuse me, Darby. I should have introduced you. That was very rude. Stay right there.
Thanks for watching Sacramento Cable Special Edition. I'm Brian Gruber, Director of Marketing.
And I'm Darby Patterson, Community Relations Manager at Sacramento Cable.
Before Congress deregulated cable television in 1984, cable was in a small minority of American homes, and programming was dominated by broadcast stations and old reruns. Now over 60% of American households enjoy cable TV.
Hundreds of millions of dollars are now being invested each year in original programming, sports, made-for-cable movies, and new channels devoted to your special needs and interests.
The Cable Act of 1992 affects your channel lineup and your rates. It sets standards for customer service, which I'm happy to say Sacramento Cable already exceeds in most cases. Don is standing by in the newsroom to briefly explain the Cable Act as well as changes to our channel lineup. Don?
Darby and Brian, the 1992 Cable Television Consumer Protection and Competition Act was passed last year. The Federal Communications Commission, known as the FCC, has issued a set of rules to define how cable operators do business. With this new law, the Cable Act...
Hi, I'm Esther Priestley. One of the major issues of the 1992 Cable Act was to make sure customers were being served quickly and efficiently. As manager of customer service for Sacramento Cable, I'm proud to report that we already have been meeting and exceeding our demanding local service standards for several years now, and we're going to continue that great record. We are here to answer any questions you may have about your cable bill.
Hi, thank you for calling Sacramento Cable. This is Jeff. How may I help you?
We received a number of calls regarding re-regulations. If you are interested in an information packet giving you in-depth details about re-regulation, please call 648-7803. Leave your name, phone number, and address, and we will mail a packet to you. We will do whatever it takes to make this transition as convenient as possible. Thank you for being a Sacramento Cable customer.
Now let's go to Don, who is in the newsroom with more information on rate changes. Don?
Many aspects of the 1992 Cable Act preclude cable companies from charging for some products and services, but does allow them to charge for others. Key rate changes include monthly charges for Economy Basic, formerly called Limited Basic, at $10, being increased slightly to $10.50. Full basic cable that was previously $22 will be $20.23, a reduction of $1.77. The monthly charge for remote control access will drop from $3.75 to $0. Although the remote access fee will disappear, there will be a remote rental fee of just 33 cents. Converter rentals will cost customers $2.10 per month, adding up to a total bill for both remote and converter rental that is less than the previous charge for the remote alone. All but one premium channel rate will stay the same. Encore will increase by $1 to $4.95.
We're going to be working very hard in the next few months to make these changes as easy as possible for you. Now let's go inside and I'll show you how easy it is to hook up your converter box. First, you take your converter box, set it on top of your TV set where you can see your channels clearly. Then you take the cable from the wall outlet, connect it to the input of your converter box, like so. The output of the converter box connects to the VHF on your TV set. Now, if you have a VCR, you connect the output of the converter box to the input of your VCR, and the output of your VCR connects to the VHF on your TV set. Now take your AC plug, plug it into an AC outlet. Set your TV set on channel 4 and you're ready to go.
An information packet that will give you greater detail on the changes caused by regulation of the cable industry is available. Just call us at 648-7803, and we'll send you a packet with all this information and more within just a few days. Thank you very much for watching Special Edition, and thank you for being a Sacramento Cable customer.
Now, obviously, that's just an outtake of a 30-minute infomercial. There's very detailed information. We cover all the rates in detail on this infomercial. We cover all the brochures and all of the changes, the channel realignment, channel changes in the lineup, and so on and so forth. But even to enhance that, and I should point out that the very first mailing was this multicolored mailing that went to everybody, 210,000 people, with an insert of a full disclosure of all rates, channels, and everything that was going on, as we could at least predict at that time. Then we followed it up with this yellow postcard, like I said, to the specific 30,000 people that need a converter because they are cable-ready customers without a converter. And then again on September the 3rd, we'll issue another oversized postcard to our customers that are still converterless, about 20,000 people. And then we'll start print ads on September the 6th that will identify scrambling and retransmission consent issues so that we can update the public as to the possibility of broadcast channels being dropped from our channel lineup at their request. And then again on the 15th of September, we'll initiate another postcard to the customers that will tell them again that they need to get in to get their converter. We are also investigating the possibilities of home delivery through UPS and other services at this time, but the point is, come October the 1st, through all of these multiple locations that I have listed for you, through all the various mailings, newspapers, infomercials that run 12 hours a day, we will frankly have just about everybody informed and up to date on everything. The purpose of the infomercial, by the way, was to be able to specifically change it as it goes along, because as we keep progressing through to October the 6th, the FCC continues to change the rules that we are working with, and so we want to be able to update our customers the quickest way we possibly can as the rules start to change.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, Al.
One of the things in there says, in the part that we said, use the phrase "caused by" the Cable Act. And shouldn't there be a separate one? I mean, it's not only caused by, but how you choose to implement it. And what I'd like to know is how else might have you implemented that would have avoided the converter box?
The only way that we could have done it in today's technology would be to distribute traps out onto the system, which is the most archaic beginning in the 1970s and probably ended its use for the most part in the 80s. Some systems that have not rebuilt to addressable systems still use a trap, and the purpose of a trap is a cylinder trap about this large that is specially designed to block out channels. And everybody, you have many options there. You would have to block out all customers that were limited basic, but they would still need to have scrambling converters on their limited basic customers. We'd have to put in a cylinder trap that would block out channels 29 through 52 so that they would not be able to see those channels. That is, one, not only ridiculous to do because it completely is out of sync with the future use of our cable system, in that I am deploying $14 million in fiber optic rebuild in order to bring digital compressed signals, which will all have converter boxes. The future technology is addressable, and even the Cable Act encourages cable systems to become addressable. That is the purpose of this act, is to make cable systems upgrade their technology. And one of the ways, without writing it that blatantly in the law, was to state to the public, we want limited basic customers that had to buy through full basic in order to get pay and pay-per-view. We want to make those people allowed to be able to buy pay and pay-per-view without being able to be forced to buy channels 30 through 52. So if you're moving in that direction of digital compression, the cable system had already been fully addressable up until around April of 1991, when I took the scramblers off to be more cable friendly. yes, it is more cable friendly, but it is not in step with the future growth of this industry or the future growth of our technology. So basically,
Well, let me just back up a little bit, because there's something I'm missing. Okay.
Okay.
Right now, you have a system where if a person's on limited basic, they're not getting the other channels. If you're on just regular basic, which I am, then everything's scrambled anyway.
Right.
On those channels that you don't want people to get because they haven't bought into it. And I think the underlying assumption I'm hearing besides this idea of, we're going to want to go to converters to a completely addressable system is that you had to provide access to premium channels for people who wanted limited basic. I guess what I'm asking you, would there have been another way to do that?
Oh, sure.
Without having everybody go to converter boxes at this time, because I think that people who have multiple outlets, multiple TVs in their house are now going to be faced with getting rid of one charge, but it looks like picking up a greater charge in total. Well, no, but if they were, I don't know how much you were paying per month because I don't have any other outlets but one. But
we'll go through that.
It seems to me that we owe an explanation, or you owe the explanation to the community and to the commission, why you chose to go this way, which obviously recoups more money to your system, than a way that might not have done that and might have forestalled having to go to converters at this point. You've got a lot of people, a lot of consumers out there with cable-ready television sets, and that's probably you're going to be their hottest ones you're going to hear from, and we're going to hear from, that you have made their cable-ready set useless to them unless they buy the converter box and a remote. And I think that there was another way you could have done this. In fact, there might have been several different ways you could have done it and not put that expense back on the consumer. So,
well, then let me start with the explanation of all those various issues, because it's very, very complicated.
That's what people have to understand are some of the basic assumptions, though. It's not just the addressable issue, it's other issues.
Well, it is the addressable issue. The issue is solely that we are not going to deploy traps back into the field in an old technology.
Would you have needed to put traps back in the system?
No.
Why couldn't you have had someone who had basic and who really wanted access to the premiums just request a converter? They could have had it.
You have to black out or block out through a trap or through scrambling those services between channel 30 and channel 52 so that customers cannot view them that are paying you $10.50 for limited basic.
That's right, and you're doing that now.
I am doing that to all services above channel 29.
I know, but that's a choice. You chose to do that.
Of course I did, and I chose to do that against anti-theft. And scrambling, and the reason that we did that is that under the old law, limited basic customers could not buy pay-per-view or pay TV. They could not have that interactivity. So now all we had to do is to go out there and to block out that trap from 29 on up so that they couldn't receive pay and pay-per-view. Everything is blocked out from them. The law states that we now have to provide access of those customers to buy pay and pay-per-view.
And you couldn't have realigned your channel in a way to let them do that in a different way?
No. There would be no way of doing it. You would still have to go out there and you would have to build another trap. You would have to go out into the plant. You'd have to remove the existing trap that blocks all the channels above it out. You'd have to put in another trap into the field, and then you would have to reinstitute scrambling on those services that you're going to provide to those limited basic customers and put a box on those customers' homes.
How many limited basic are we talking about in this community?
Well, actually, the universe that you're talking about here in general is very limited. There are 30,000 people that are going to receive boxes, and there are 19,000 people that are limited basic that may or may not want to buy pay or pay-per-view. And we already have over 200,000 converters in the field. We already have, most of our subscriber base is already addressable, and obviously with 211,000 customers and only the need to distribute 30,000 converters, actually less than 30,000 converters, to those customers over the last 2 years that turned in their converters in order to not have it on their TV set. Those are the people, only those people, that are being affected by it. Everybody else out there has a converter. You have 125,000 pay homes. All those people that have pay homes have a converter. We have 30% of our subscriber base uses pay-per-view. They may be one of those pay homes. They may be a full basic customer. They have a converter. We have customers that have converters in their closet that bring them out when they want to use the converter for a major fight or other events like that. We are saying, let's address the issue now. We are going to scramble the system so that we're ready for the future, so that we can provide someday a la carte premium, a la carte basic services, and other types of flexibility so that we can create tiers of services into the future. As we've talked over many times, I'm in the process of building this fiber optic interconnect to bring 15 new analog channels to our system. Now, are we going to provide those channels just as add-on to basic service? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we'll sell incremental tiers of 5 and 6 channels and sell it for an additional rate. But the facts is that I'm upgrading the system, I'm adding more channels in, TV sets are going to become more and more obsolete. What's going to happen when we take 10 of those channels, go digitally compressed, and force a digital converter into the home so that we can compress it to 80 channels? Our converter boxes don't do that. We're going to have to upgrade the existing converter box to a much higher technology so that the services that the customer really wants, the majority, not the people that are cable ready only, customers, those basic cable ready customers are not the lion's share of our subscriber base. They are 30,000 or less of 211,000 customers. And the other customers that are using our services are going to want these new technologies. They're going to want two-way interactivity. They're going to want Sega channels. They're going to want these things, and we're going to make it available to them. Now, to sit here, and I don't believe I've ever portrayed that publicly, that we're blaming this on the FCC. They initiated it. I would have not re-scrambled at this point in time if the FCC rules didn't say, long term, you should get to this availability. When we looked at it and we said, excuse me, why wouldn't we do it now? We should do it now. Why would we wait until 40,000 customers are going to be affected by it? Why would we wait for 50,000? The technology for our cable system is not going to change. We are not going to be able to create a off-premise, which I've heard from a few customers, off-premise addressable system that will be converterless. The environment in the future is converter, not converter-less. We are going to have digital converters, we're going to have block converters, we're going to have standard addressable converters in the field, and by the end of this decade, we'll have a myriad of different types of converters in the field based on the level of service and technologies that the customer wants. So it isn't going to be one of traps. It's going to have to be a system involved in scrambling. And if I didn't do that, I could have saved this year $3.5 million. In the future, I guess I could have saved the $14 million for more channel capacity because we're building the fiber optics so that we can deliver digital services, not so that we can deliver analog services like we do today. So my answer to your question is that it is a company's decision to go back and re-scramble our service. But it is motivated, and it would not have been done if this act wasn't implemented. And at that time, we made that decision to go ahead and address the problem now and deal with approximately 20 to 30,000 customers than 2 or 3 years down the road, or let's say 18 months, when we become digitally compressed and have to deal with 40 or 50,000 customers.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Got me breathless.
All right.
So, Jim, before we continue, there's been some change in notation as far as limited basic or full basic or whatever. I notice what you have now is economy basic and full basic. What did those two used to be called?
Limited basic and full basic.
Yeah, that's what it used to be called, and it's now called economy basic and full basic. Can you tell me if in the economy basic, if there's been any change in the number of stations or channels assigned to limit or the economy basic and also to full basic?
The total channel capacity has not changed. The realignment has changed. Again, last commission meeting I announced that unfortunately limited basic customers are going to have to endure two new shopping networks, Channel 28 on this lineup and Channel 29, which is the Stockton Broadcast Home Shopping Club, Channel 64, and Channel 29, which is the shopping network, Home Shopping Network, Channel 29, here in Sacramento. It is by federal law, they requested must carry, they have to be carried, so therefore we had to select two channels that had to be dropped. And now, limited basic does include two shopping networks that are broadcasting, as well as QVC, because we want to try to keep all the shopping networks together. And everything else is pretty much the same. When I went through the limited basic tier, I was very careful to make sure that we didn't have to move access channels. One, they're getting better viewership. Two, that they would incur a lot of costs. If we had to change their channels, they'd have to reprint all their materials and everything else. And so we didn't move those. And we did, of course, protect ESPN, because under this environment, it shouldn't be given away free of charge, and it wasn't supposed to have been given away free of charge over all these years. But now we have scrambled it and have moved it up into full basic. So there has been a realignment of channels, but not the number of channels. There has been a realignment of other channels. For instance, Telemundo is no longer up on channel 60, but is down on channel 16.
Okay. Up to what channel number is full basic?
52.
Up to 52?
Right.
Okay, so anything above 52 is pay
and pay-per-view.
Yeah.
As it is today.
All right.
The only thing I did is I took the premium and pay-per-view services out of the middle of the lineup, and the purpose of doing that is so that customers that don't have pay and pay-per-view don't have to flick through a bunch of blank channels. Right now, you can start at channel 2, and you can rove through all the way to 52 uninterrupted.
So those at the $22 level can still view all of the channels except for the pay channels.
That's correct.
Okay.
Just like they've always been able to.
All right.
I'd like to ask a question on that home shopping, because
Yes,
if I understand what you said, those were singled out somehow in the legislation or in some sort of regulations that they are now must carries if they're in
That's
this
right.
area.
When they passed the retransmission and must carry law, they did that in advance and said we want to hold our decision on the home shopping network broadcasts. They, in turn, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, came back with a ruling that they are allowed to request must carry.
One of the things I'd like to refer then is to refer that to staff, and you know, I would hate to see just a proliferation of having to drop a lot of other programming because of this kind of approach. And you know, if there's anything that we could be instrumental in, I would, you know, in terms of protesting that kind of an activity, I would love to see us do it.
Now I'd like to address the issue that you had on additional outlets. The question was basically, you are now dropping one charge but adding another charge, and that is absolutely not true. What we are doing is this. Limited basic, well, let's say this. Additional outlets, the charge, the $7 charge, has gone away. It's gone from $7 to $0. Now our customers can call us up on a per installation fee and have us go and install up to 4 outlets in their home. And they technically could watch all limited basic. They could be a full basic customer on their first outlet and have 2 through 52 with a converter box, and if they desire a remote. But then, if they elect in their bedroom or in another part of their home to only watch limited basic, the cost of their additional outlet is $0 still. They will get 2 through 29 at no charge. on any additional outlet. Now, if they would like to watch ESPN, CNN, and all those other satellite-delivered services, then yes, they will have to rent a box, and if they wish, a 33-cent remote, for a total cost of a remote and a converter box of $2.44 for their total cost of full basic on their additional outlet. So in essence, limited basic costs you nothing. You get the wire in your bedroom or wherever you'd like it for free. If you want to have full basic services 2 through 52, the cost will be $2.43. If you want to buy a premium service like HBO, which was misquoted again in the newspaper, it is $8.95 for an additional outlet with a premium service, would be $8.95, and a one-time fee for as many outlets as you have on in that house of $2.50 for what we refer to as mirrored premium services on additional outlets. As an example, I have basic and HBO on my first outlet. I want to have basic and HBO on my second outlet. You will have to have a converter and probably a remote, $2.43. You then will be charged $2.50 more for the programming fee of HBO on the second outlet, bringing the fee not of $8.95 on the next outlet, no other charges. It would be a little less than $5 to have HBO and a converter and a remote control on your second outlet. And that would be an example of the most expensive an additional outlet could be.
Okay, so and so that if people wanted to have multiple outlets and they wanted them different, then you are saying that as a company you will accommodate that kind of request up to 4.
That's why we call it more choices, because now the choices are, I have 3 additional outlets. I want my child to have regular basic. They'll pay, let's say, $2.44 for a box. Then you'll have, I want HBO in my bedroom. I can pay a little less than $5 for my box and HBO. And in my next bedroom, all I want is limited basic, and my outlet fee is $0.
Mr. Can we clarify, just because of the disclosure, and I think I just misunderstood you on a key issue. If you have 2 additional outlets, both desiring premiums, in this case, let's say different premiums, is there a $2 premium access charge for each additional outlet? $2.50?
It's $2.50 for all additional outlets.
That's not what we have in the disclosure, and it's not what I believe.
Maybe I'm mistaken, and I will go back and check.
In the Darby and Brian show on the Tube last night, that's not what was stated.
Then I probably am mistaken. Add $2.50 to each one for every premium that you would want to have. Again, less than $5. Before you would be paying $10.75. Today you'll be paying less than $5. Okay? Are we more confused because I messed up? In essence, a customer that has a remote control, a converter box today, and an additional outlet is paying you $7 for the additional outlet and $3.75 for the remote control. He now is paying, that would be $10.75. Now he's paying less than $5 for the same service.
But I just want to take it one step further. Let's say you had just to find out how the figures work, okay? You're going to have a customer who right now is paying nothing for a converter and nothing for a remote.
No.
But has let's say they have the basic, and they are paying the extra $7 per month, that is, for a second outlet that mirrors that. It's the identical service, so it's it's only a $7, correct? Okay, and without any of those services. Now what they're going to be doing, it seems to me, is they're going to be paying for the converter and the remote, because they'll have to have the remote for the converter unless they just jump up and down all the time because their TV one won't work anymore. And so that's $2.43.
Yeah. Right.
And on the other one, if they kept just the same type of service, it then becomes $2.43. Is that correct? So actually, it's the difference between $7 and $243 for the second one if they don't have any premiums, and if they have just the converter and just the. Okay, so where you begin to get into some of the other choices and where the packages for the consumer become just a little more complex is when they begin to look at getting into some of the premium channels and what else they might select.
That's precisely right. What you've said is accurate. It's assuming to make sure that we have that in complete picture. An additional outlet day before yesterday was $7. It now would be $0.
Yeah.
But if they just had a box and they wanted to get up, or they didn't need a box, they didn't have anything other than their cable-ready set, it now will cost them, instead of $7, $2.43, as you said. If they want to have a premium service, they can add $2.50 to that $2.43 and come up with $4.93 a month, rather than. And more than likely, if they had a premium service, they probably would have gotten our remote. So that apples-to-apples comparison would be $10.75, now costs $4.93, and where it used to cost $7 before, it now costs $2.43.
Yeah. What I'm hoping is that a lot of the people who phoned our offices, the Cable Commission offices, and your offices might be watching. and might be walking through some of this.
Well, if they are, they're in serious trouble. I can tell you that, because you can't understand. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but the fact of the matter is, this is a fairly easy thing to understand. If you understand, the more you were paying before, if you were paying more before, it's going to cost you less.
That's true.
On the other hand, if you were in fact paying a lower amount, it's going to cost you more. Fairly fundamentally simple. There's a quantity discount factor involved here. The higher the cable charge, the less you're going to pay now. And if you were on the lower end, the more you're going to pay. It's a fairly simple thing.
That's true.
I just want everybody to understand that's what Mr. Rucker's talking about.
Well, I think I've said that not only in the newspaper several times, I've said it on the radio station many times. It is exactly that. The bill was intended to lower the rates, and it is lowering the rates. 91% of the customers are going to get a lower rate. 9% are going up. There's a portion of people that won't even change one bit. The bottom line here is that you have a group of people that had 27 channels, and the government established a benchmark rate. Our benchmark rate, if anybody wants to calculate it, is 38.9 cents a channel. That's how it works. Take 38.9 cents a channel times how many channels, and because we have been very, very generous with our customers on limited basic, far more than most places, they unfortunately, without changing the amount of service that they got a 50-cent increase. So the less they paid, the more their rate went up. Their rate went up. Those customers that have been with us and have spent a lot of money with our service by having lots of additional outlets, well, obviously, if you had 3 additional outlets, you just saved $21 right there. And you're going to replace part of those additional outlet charges with box charges and little other charges, like 33 cents for a remote control. And then, as far as equipment is concerned, because we didn't get a chance to address that, that is a flat fee that is the cost of the converter, built with some types of allowances for a small margin, small increases, or profit. And then it is divided by the number of users, and we come up with a rate of 33 cents on the remote control. But we now have a box that we're buying and that we're putting into the plant, and we have to charge the cost, the actual cost of the box, the actual cost of the remote control. And then if Sacramento Cable never had to buy another box, which we hope that never will happen, if they never buy another box, then every year the rate will depreciate and go down. So if we never bought another remote control, today it's 33 cents, maybe next year it'll be a quarter. It's based on the depreciated schedule.
Is it based on the depreciated schedule compared to the really, really old converters and the new? Do you have a difference in price between those two?
We were required to go in and actually go back and look at all the purchases.
So you're going to bill your customers differently depending on which converter they've got? Then how are you going to make it show up?
We had to level it off. We had to, old converters and new converters work And if they work, they're fine. But we paid a price for it, and it has depreciated over time. We bought other converters last year. They've depreciated slightly. We bought some just recently. They've depreciated slightly.
Okay, so you misunderstood my first question. That was my first question was, did you just, that's what I meant. Did you take all your converters and just use that as the benchmark, all of them depreciated, and just use that for all the customers, regardless of whether they've got a new one or old one?
We used all of them, and therefore it actually lowered our rate even more because we had to take all of the older boxes that have been in the plant.
The bulk of your older boxes are still out there?
Pardon me?
The bulk of your boxes out there are the old boxes?
There are a lot of old boxes out there, yes.
Okay.
Well, we've only had to buy 30,000 boxes, and we've only used 10,000 of them in the rollout so far. And I just finished telling you that we had purchased somewhere in the neighborhood, I'm just guessing a little bit, 293,000 converters over the last roughly 8 years. So we have a lot of converters out there. Okay, I'm going to try and go through this a little quicker if I can.
Okay.
Unless we get back onto scrambling. Let's see here. The mirrored page we've already discussed. Then, of course, we introduced this new thing this month, which with all the things, another new thing, but this is a positive thing. We now are providing Home Theater Club the ability to be rewarded just like frequent flyers. So if you're a Home Theater Club member, you will get points for as many dollars that you spend with us, and you'll be able to redeem them for prizes, not prizes, but for actual gifts and items, anything ranging from MTV jackets to various types of director's chairs, Mickey Mouse watches, and things like that. Now a customer actually has the ability of earning points every month by being a customer, and later we hope to roll these out to other businesses such as airlines and other places like that, which is another positive. And we're trying to do that with the hopes of encouraging more and more of our customers to stay on with us and to become more loyal and hold down our churn rate and build retention. Another thing that we're doing at our expense, which we think is important, is through cable data we will expand to 4-panel bills rather than 3-panel bills. That will give us the ability to communicate more on a monthly basis with our customers. So today we have 3 panels, we'll go to 4, allowing us more room. Our subscribers have grown very nicely. I wanted to share that with you. I think that there's been lots of questions as to how we're doing, so I'll take this opportunity now to do that. January, we lost 644 customers. In February, we picked up 333. These are net. In March, 318. April, 878. May, 1,183. In June, 1,891. July, 468. August, 307. September is projected right now at 1,500, and we've grown to date approximately 4,734 brand new customers. We are receiving calls, and to give you an update on our call volume, in August 29th, we took 4,955 calls, about 619 calls an hour. On Monday, we took 9,514 calls, about 1,189 an hour. On Tuesday, we took 7,064 calls, 883 an hour. And on Wednesday, we took 6,732 calls, 842 calls an hour. We have currently handled, in the month of August, 185,674 calls. Our monthly average is 30,000 usually. We are conducting right now 30 new customer service trainees that are going to be active in September and in October. And we've hired on 15 temporaries to help in expediting flow of paperwork and so on. By the way, this afternoon the average time was a little less than 5 minutes for a customer to walk in, bring his yellow card, and pick up a box, all the information, sign a document, and leave. The customers seem, as a general statement, very pleased. Our calls are not very negative. Our calls are not about scrambling. Our calls are primarily about understanding their particular bill. If you were to go over there, as I did earlier this afternoon around 1 o'clock, we had 25 or 30 people dealing with their bill in the lobby, and we had about 15 to 20 people that were picking up converter boxes. It is moving extremely fast. and I'm very pleased with it. So in essence, to recap, we've sent out this brochure. We've disclosed according to our regulations. We have mailed this postcard already. We have created a 30-minute infomercial on Channel 23. We have an alternate postcard going out, plus another one going out on the 15th, as you can see, for the people that have not yet picked up a converter. We have introduced a reward program for our customers to stay with us longer. And then, of course, Darby has created for you the document called Cable Babble, which I think that Darby needs a lot of congrats on, because it basically tells you all the issues, all the different dialogues that we use, and all the crazy lingo that we use. So if you didn't understand what I said, you can use this to decipher that.
Addressability you can look up in there.
Addressability.
You know, I'd like to add, too, that we made a real effort this time around to get in touch with everyone from the media, all of the radio stations. I faxed every radio station today because we had some wrong telephone numbers going out and some misinformation about how many customers are being affected by this. Also, we've aggressively gone after making sure all the reporters, the key reporters at our 2 daily newspapers know about this, and we've also been in contact with a lot of the weekly newspapers. So we've really done an outreach to make sure that people are not in the dark, and consequently, I think now that they're coming into our office and they're asking questions about their particular bills, that to some degree we've been successful with that, and that's our whole intent.
I have a full staff of people that are working honestly 7 days a week and almost 24 hours a day. We're real pleased with their performance, and we're pleased that this rollout is being so successful. I'd be happy to take any questions.
We have questions from Mr. Yee.
Kim, without feeling is this on?
Yes.
Yes.
Without feeling like you're being broadsided, I'd like to ask, and I understand your difficulties with must carry and all the changes. I am still concerned about the multilingual programming problem. You have any information or up-to-date information on what that status is?
Well, yes. And I was hoping today I could bring to you some better news, but I can't do that. This is the letter that I received yesterday from KTSF. It is overnight mailed, delivered in my office September 1st. It is the first correspondence since the last meeting that we had, and the only correspondence. It specifically states in here, in this letter, which I believe the Cable Commission has been fax copied on. It basically says exactly what I thought would be the case on KTSF. In the second paragraph it says, as we have stated previously, we believe it is feasible to complete direct licensing, but we have not as yet obtained all the proper clearances. The facts here are, and then of course they proceed to go through this by saying that I'm not agreeing to put them on the air. I'm not going to agree to anything until they have the authority and the right to direct license their programming, and they do not have that right, so therefore, unfortunately, I can't do anything until they get that right. Secondly, I know that Ron Cooper and Access Sacramento have been involved in discussions. We've had meetings with our advisory group of the international community just as recently as a couple of days ago. Darby, maybe you could give us a little update on that.
We had a meeting of our advisory board in which we've asked people from a number of multicultural communities to join us. They've been really a great help because it gives us some real direct feedback about what they want. And one of the things we had was a presentation from the Cable Access Educational Channel, and they presented the schedule that they have in which they're broadcasting multilingual news broadcasts when they're not using it for educational purposes. And the people on our advisory committee were really pleased with that, and we're looking forward to more of that. In addition, Brian Gruber, our marketing manager, who also handles our programming, is speaking with another carrier of multilingual broadcasting, another channel that has some real quality items. And we played a videotape of this for the people on our advisory board, and the Cantonese speakers were very happy with it. They said, this is real quality news. And the point I think that we tried to get across to them is that our efforts to return some kind of good, particularly Asian programming to our system are continuing. They're happening at the same time as we're trying to negotiate with KTSF and keep this rolling. We're doing many things at one time so that something will happen. It is just taking us time. For the Italian community, we are returning REI to the air. I believe that's going to start in October. And our efforts are continuing. We're doing it all the time. But as you can tell, these negotiations just take a whole lot more time than any of us want them to.
Okay. Darby, I would appreciate a private meeting to update me on all the details between your office and perhaps including Ron Cooper, because I don't know what's being done from the public access end of it. So
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
On that matter, Mr. Chair, Mr. Yee, I'll give you my copy. Liz Rhodes has faxed to me a copy of what the Educational Channel 21 is doing with international news broadcasting by country, by time, and by date. So this meets a need also that you might not have seen.
Thank you.
Thanks. Are there other questions from members of the commission? Thank you very much,
Mr. Chairman.
Darby.
Mr. Chairman, with the chair's permission, staff would have 2 or 3 questions to get on the record for Sacramento Cable, primarily to assist your constituents on some key issues. Mr. Ruckert, Kim, the newsletter that you're saying was going out soon addresses a couple issues. I want to be sure that this is right. If a converterless option subscriber wants Sacramento Cable to deliver and/or hook up a converter box, will the company do so without charge?
I can't answer that without looking at that.
Yeah, that's what this says.
The highlighted portion says that.
This is the most.
I don't have it right in front of me.
This is one of the most frequent questions we're getting in the office. Must I go to Sacramento Cable and pick up a box? Your notice says that you will deliver it and/or hook it up through October 31st without charge. Is that the company policy?
My understanding is that is true, and as I also said to you, we are engaging in conversations with UPS to also deliver converter boxes and get signatures on documents at their home. But we haven't implemented that yet.
When will that be effective?
Oh, no.
Mr. Chair.
Let me back up. Is the policy effective now that if a subscriber calls, the company will make an appointment and deliver the box?
Yes, we will schedule an appointment.
Okay.
And that'll be free of charge?
Yes, like all service calls. They're built into the rate.
The second question is...
Rich, on your first question, that's the way it says here. No charge for this service through October 31st.
Right. I don't know the effective date of that. This hasn't been distributed yet.
Yeah, that's what he was just trying to clarify. That
Well, the effective the day they received it.
Okay. Well, we're getting those kind of calls, too, because people are saying, does that mean I can call the company and they're going to bring those converter boxes out because we don't know how to hook up a converter? And so I think that's...
Yes.
That's absolutely true. But if they come to our home, come from their home and come all the way down to one of our locations that we've got, we're giving them incentives to do so. We're giving 2 free fare tickets for anybody that comes down and gets the boxes. Then we'll follow it up with some free pay-per-views or maybe even free pay services.
We also have a demonstration on our video of how to hook up the converter boxes, so that could help people as well. It would be a good place to start anyway.
Well, a question I have, you may be getting calls at your office. I deal with it at home since we're a subscriber, and I have to listen to my wife complain about this.
She can't hook it up?
I can take the heat at the council. I can't take the heat in the kitchen.
That's a personal thing.
And it may be a personal thing, but it's getting a little hotter, Mr. Ruckert. And although my wife talks to you every once in a while when we're out and about, she has relayed some valid concerns that Mr. Esposto is getting the 60,000 calls in his office, and I think it's legitimate. The first issue is this issue of do we get the service free to come out and bring this? But one before that, we have, just to give you an idea, we have 2 boxes now, and we're taking away the service that was provided before, and now we're having to pay for boxes to bring service back in. And we can't seem to get, as we call through the system, an explanation for this. And I will have to say it was a 20-minute wait on the phone for us to try to figure out what we are going to be not paying for under the new federal regulations, and then what we are going to be paying for. Unfortunately, it looks like the $6 that we're not going to be paying now is going to be replaced because we'll need converter boxes.
Right.
And
$7.
$7?
Additional outlets are $7.
And so the $7 we're not going to be paying for, we need a converter box. My household is not happy about that, obviously, and we're not happy that the cable system wouldn't absorb that cost and follow the federal regulations and not come back with another charge.
We are following the federal regulations.
Following the federal regulations, but coming back with another charge to make up for that cost seems to be subverting that regulation in the sense that you're adding more cost to the ratepayer.
I think that if you evaluate the legislation, you will see that we are not only allowed to charge for equipment, but I think you're really saying is that we shouldn't be able to recover the cost of our converter boxes because we're inconveniencing you at your home by having to make you have a converter box on that additional outlet. In that particular case, most of my customers have converter boxes on not only their first outlet, but their second outlet. And there are some customers that are unfortunately going to incur a small increase at the same time they get a large decrease. But the very point is that it is our decision to be in complete compliance in the future, and it is our decision because we think it is the right way for our company to go forward in providing video services into the home.
Mr. Panay, the services you're describing are regulated under the Act as of yesterday, as of September 1st. Sacramento Cable is coming into compliance by their terms at this time. We will not see Sacramento Cable's filings at the earliest until October 1st, unless they decide to give them to us sooner. At that time, you will see what their equipment charges are and the calculations and analysis that they've used to get to these numbers. Right now, it's what they say. We haven't verified it. We don't know.
Well, let me just make sure I understand what's happening to my family personally so I can better understand what's happening to all the ratepayers. This one outlet that we have at $7, the federal government has said, no, cable operator, you can't charge for that.
That's correct.
If they have an outlet in their home, you shouldn't be allowed to charge for that. So you as a company have gone further and said, okay, we can't charge for that, but we can charge for a box. So we're going to charge you a box fee, even though your television has a cable ready ability that you can get as many channels as 100 on your television that's cable ready. So you're saying as a company, you're going to be charging people as we move further into the technology age, when we have the ability inside our own box that we buy and pay for, that's the television box. You're not going to allow us to use that specifically. You're going to make us pay for another box on top of it.
Yes, and I think that you're making a very good point there. Technology into the future. I think that I've addressed this issue already. Technology into the future, your TV set is not capable of dealing with our technology in the future. And when we do go to digital compressed signals, your TV set will not be able to accommodate that. Secondly, we are expanding our channels, and just because maybe your television set may have 50 channels cable ready, 100 channels cable ready. Not everybody is like that. Some people have still 12 channel TV sets. Some people have only 36 channel cable ready TV sets. Some have 169 channels cable ready, but they will not work in the future with digital compression. They won't work, many of them, if they have 77 channels or 85 channels, which will be the case in the next 18 to 24 months. But today, we made a business decision to scramble the signal again, like we did before April of 1991, in order to position our subscribers and not to evade our fees or increase more fees, but to increase technology to a very, very small group of our subscribers that are cable-ready, basic-only customers. They are less than 30,000 customers in that category.
So, well,
not need a
in this
converter
case,
box.
we're not a basic only. I think our bill's over $50 a month now.
It should go down considerably in that case.
Excuse me?
It should go down considerably in that case.
Well, it doesn't seem that we're going to have a reduction in this specific case, but I guess what I'm getting at is the specific point of having this extra box when the ratepayers who do not need that box until you get to this digital system, why should they have to pay for that box? Why, if I have a cable-ready television of 100 channels, why can't you allow that ratepayer to use that technology in his or her own box right now?
Well, frankly, as I said earlier also, you're dealing with a situation where these customers are going to get larger in that base, and in 18 to 24 months when I roll out the digital channels, I want to have all the flexibility that I can, and why let that box deployment get larger than 20, 30,000 customers over the next 2 years? It could grow to 40 or 50. I'd rather deal with the problem right now, be able to be in complete compliance with the FCC regulations of allowing our customers easily to be able to buy, pay, and pay-per-view, and keep that $10.50 limited basic service.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, staff has a second question, if we may. We've confirmed now that Sacramento Cable, upon request, will deliver and/or hook up converter boxes to those who don't have it. The next, free of charge. The next question we have is for subscribers who don't contact the company. These are subscribers who are converterless option subscribers or lately can't get through. What happens on October 1st? Will you automatically adjust their bill, or do they need to call or write you to notify you of their desire to go to limited basic?
That's a very good question, Rich. That's the best one I've heard today. Frankly, the question is answered this way.
All of us who ask questions.
By the way, I asked the staff this too.
You insulted John.
Well,
Go ahead, Kim. We just love to give you bad time.
It's the best one. He didn't say that it was. The others were all irrelevant.
Jimmy thought he had the best question.
We are encouraged. We are encouraged that you're getting around with our staff these days.
Well, that is not, I can address that issue too, but I don't think this would be a good time to do that.
Let's hear the answer to the best question of the day.
My answer to your question is that we will telemarket every single customer before October the 1st during the last week, that we will communicate with them, especially those customers that have premium services on additional outlets. Those customers will be notified so that there is no negative option. We will ask their permission to be able to charge them, one, the $2.50 added pay. It will not be done in a negative option. We will communicate with them. I am not saying that we are going to continue after the 1st of October. Up until the 1st of October, we will deliver boxes to the home for free if it is required and they don't want to take advantage of our discounts and benefits.
October 1st or October 31st?
October 1st is my understanding.
It says October 31st. October 31st.
Then it's exactly what's written.
Whatever it is.
We're going to make you read these things, Darby.
Yeah, read it.
Well,
the point here is that there are only, I think the last tabulation we had about 172 changes. We are going to do whatever we have indicated to the customer, and whatever is written in these documents is exactly the way it's going to be done.
If you're unable to reach a customer, what happens to their bill?
Their bill will be actually discounted down.
Automatically?
Have to be.
Great, thank you.
Are there any more excellent questions? Okay, we're at the end of the line, I guess, Kim, with questions.
Well, I got a feeling there'll be a few more before I get out of here.
We thank you for your time and for your very, very informative input.
Thanks.
We have a number of people now who have indicated they would like to address the board or commission with reference to this matter. Bill White, oh, wait a minute, you have, yeah, you're three, four. Mr. Earl Hickman. You got him. Oh, how are you?
Good afternoon. I'm a cable subscriber and a resident of Sacramento County. Have used the service for a couple of years. I've got a problem. I can't use my television unless I have cable. or a 20-foot antenna on top of my roof. I'm in one of those areas that require the use of cable if I don't want to look at snow. My wife likes ESPN, so I'm going to use the full basic, or the full regular, the 22.
I guess that's it.
Yeah, up to 52.
Yeah, up to 52 channels.
Right, okay.
2 months ago, I bought a $1,000 television set that's got, so you can see a couple of pictures in it.
Yeah,
and you can
picture
do a
in a
bunch of things.
picture.
Yeah, picture in
You
picture.
just lost it.
That kind of thing. I just lost that $150 option.
Yeah.
What I
So
don't
my daughter
understand,
griped about too.
I understand. Well, what I don't understand is that if you are able to program from a facility the premium channels that you may or may not receive on a monthly basis, which would be HBO and Cinemax and some of the others, or if you subscribe to, I think it's Playboy channel, you can subscribe, or the special movie channels on a nightly basis. So the technology apparently is quite available and is used by the cable company to provide those particular channels. If we're talking about fiber optics and millions of dollars worth of input into this system to give us additional channels 2 years down the road, my question is, why do I need the box today?
Okay, do you want to answer that, Rich, or do you want to have Tim come back?
Oh, Mr. Rickert for sure. That's not mine.
Mr. Rooker, for sure. I suspect the next two people, as well as Mr. Hickman.
Side by side? That'd be fine. All right.
You want the gloves?
Don't need any gloves.
Mr. Hickman, you've already learned that this is the man that heads up Sacramento Cable, very informed. And
Chip Hickman.
Maybe you could describe also this 3 television screen.
He lost his capability. I don't have an answer for that.
Oh, the 3 channels?
That was, well, actually,
The 3 screens.
Yeah.
2
screens.
What you do is you put a picture within a picture. You can watch what's happening on the sports and while you're watching another.
And we don't have the technology to handle that.
No,
Well,
we don't have
having
the
the
technology to
converter-
put pictures in pictures and do what his television set can do in a remote location. The only thing I'm doing is 2 things. I'm securing a middle band from channel 29, above 29 to 52, so that limited basic customers are not able to look at those services. That's 1. 2, I've given them the ability to buy, pay, and pay per view. Now, in order to do that with all consideration given to traps, which are, in my opinion, obsolete and old technology and not staging us for the future, we felt it would be best to go back to addressability, fully scramble all of the services above channel 29 so that we could do 2 things in the future.
excuse me.
1, we can be positioned to be able to provide new tiers of services, new channel capacity, and to be prepared for digital compression. And 2, to also be able to, someday in the future, be able to sell limited basic service as a 1-level tier and be able to let customers pick and choose channels like ESPN and CNN and MTV and buy only those which they wish to buy.
But I think that what this gentleman's bringing up and what Josh is bringing up and what I brought up with earlier questions was, it seems the underlying reason here is, at least from Kim's perspective, he's got a problem. He's got to let limited or economy basic now get to the premium channels. And I don't understand, I still don't understand what other options you might have looked at in terms of a menu of options that would have avoided the converter box and avoided the remote and still allowed your limited basic or your economy basic to get to those other channels, because you're using as your rationale for scrambling the system and putting converter boxes out now, at least this is the rationale as I understand it, that you want to let these limited basic have what you say the law requires you to do, give them access to pay per view. What this gentleman asked is if you can now keep all sorts of options away from people, how come you can do that? and you couldn't have figured out an alternate to go converterless in these 2 years in between. I think that's the bottom line we're all trying to get at.
Well, again, the same issue as before. I won't go back over what I just did, but I will address it in the other way of the traps. Currently, right now, if a customer is a limited basic customer, we put a cylinder trap that costs X number of dollars on the pole so that they can see nothing from channel whatever it is. I think it's 27 on up now, but let's, for the sake of the new channel lineup, 29 and up. And they cannot see anything from 29 and up. Now, if I wanted to go to that level, there's several reasons why we don't. It's extremely labor intensive. 2, it leaks, meaning leaks signal very easily out into the plant. It is a very high theft item. For instance, if a person climbs the pole, takes the cylinder off the pole, then they can steal all your basic services. So it's a security measure. And if I were to do that, I would then have to go out into the plant. I would have to remove the 40,000 some odd traps that we have in the field right now that block out everything, because we couldn't do that. We would have to then block out only 29 through 52 and then provide them with a box so that they could then buy pay and pay-per-view. One, that's ridiculous. That's the oldest technology available, but it would have allowed us then to keep cable-ready customers to be able to view without having to have a converter box. But long-term, it would not accomplish the needs. It would short-term damage the company because of theft, and it would increase my cost in labor, which would be passed on to the customer through the benchmarks. There'd be lots of things. So I've given you 3 or 4, but I can tell you there's more like 6, 7, or 8 items as to why you would not use the technology of trapping. Now, if your system is not already addressable, which we are already addressable, then you might want to opt for that because you are rebuilding your system. Like in some of the systems around here, they're building their system to be able to do what my system does today. We have the technology. We made the business decision to exercise that technology now and to make sure that we're positioned for the future for a la carte buying, digital compression, and we want the customer to have a box in their home so that they will play with the box and get used to it so that they can adapt to what the future is going to be on cable TV. And those customers, those few customers that have very high-tech television sets, many of their services are going to become obsolete. But one of the things that we did do is we will be introducing a new Uniwand. This type of remote control is different than all the other remote controls that we've ever used.
Now, is this going to be available when they pick up the converter?
It's not available yet. It will be available to them, and it'll be available to them by the 1st of the year, and we'll notify our customers of that.
How much?
Okay,
this,
so if the one...
This is an estimated cost, but maybe I ought to give the sales pitch first.
Yeah.
The estimated cost is going to be around 60 cents to $1 a month. It will have the ability to operate your VCR, your television set, your stereo. It'll have hot buttons for very special services that you want. It opens up and will provide you all the flexibility to operate all of your devices that you have, including four other devices,
Don't hit it
like
by
a popcorn popper or lights.
Hit it by
Let your dog out in the morning.
I would like that. Someday it'll be a telephone.
Let me ask him, right now, though, when people go in to get their converter, they're going to get the old type remote with it, correct?
No. I don't have it with me here, but it's a brand new converter and a brand new remote, and we'll be giving those out as long as people stop bringing back old ones trying to swap them for new ones, because eventually when we run out, we will just give them the old converters back.
Okay, for this
we have plenty of converters.
Yeah. Let me ask one more question, and I know you have more questions, but in terms of the features on his set, for a person wanting to fully utilize some of his features, wouldn't they have to go to a second converter? With a second converter and a VCR, they could tape, and they might be able to figure out how to make the picture within a picture work. Is that correct?
I can't answer that. I'm not technically smart enough to tell you that. But I can tell you the only reason that a person would have 2 converter boxes for a grand total of $2.43 each would be, with a remote control, of course, would be only if they wanted to record something scrambled and watch something scrambled.
Right.
If you want to watch
But
ABC,
your system's
NBC,
going to be
CBS,
scrambled. Your system's going to be scrambled.
only the first, only 29, only channel
That's right.
30 and above.
Right.
So why, maybe this gentleman would like to watch the Cable Commission on 14 and scramble and unscramble HBO. He could do that. He could watch channel 3, 5, whatever you wanted to watch up to channel 29. But once he got up above channel 29 and he wanted to record ESPN and watch TNT, he would then have to have two converters if he wanted to record one and watch one that is scrambled.
Make it easy for you. I have two televisions and two VCRs, so I can record on one and watch the other. That's
And you're going to have to, we only have two microphones here. You're going to have to stand in front of them.
Okay. I don't have any problem having two VCRs and two televisions. I can record on one TV and watch another. That's not a problem for me.
Good.
But what I don't understand is that if the technology is 18 months and more likely 2 years or more years away, that $2.43 per my household times 2, and I don't know how many other times in the 150,000 range where these things are going to be employed. I'm not a mathematician, and I didn't bring my calculator, but it seems to me that we're in the millions of dollars in a couple of years for an item that I really don't need at this point. And if you multiply other people like me who really don't have a need at this point for this technology, I'm going to pay an average of about $100 until the technology is there, and that's just as an option if I want to use it.
But isn't it a matter, sir, that don't you want to use the, I mean, isn't the real issue whether or not the Cable Commission has the right to charge for their services?
No problem with that.
And determine and make that decision as to how you enter their system? Isn't that the basic underlying consideration? What you're saying is, if I'm hearing you right, that you basically said, thank you very much, I want to participate, I want to receive cable, but yet I don't want to do it on the basis that you want me to do it. I unfortunately, or you unfortunately, went out and spent $150 for a set that had an option that you now can't use. But it seems to me that the underlying consideration here is that somewhere along the line the regulations said the cable provider had to do certain things. And now we're talking about what you're saying is that you don't want to participate on that basis, but you still want to participate using the cable service.
Oh, that's not what I said, or at least I didn't mean to say it that way. If he wants to charge me an extra $4.66 a month on a basic and leave that thing away, I don't have any problem with that. He's entitled to a profit. He's entitled to make a living. He's entitled, if he put out a service and he's going to assume the risk, I don't have any problem with that. But what I do have a problem with is that I am now forced to use a technology that I really don't need. It not only takes that option was the 150, the other set.
Wait a minute, you don't have to take the service at all. And that way you don't have to take any technology or anything else. That's a matter of decision for each radio or TV owner.
Mr. Chairman, members, let me add one more piece from the staff perspective that may help. It won't answer your question, won't make the problem go away. But being somewhat familiar with the Cable Act, I've got to point out that there's 2 complete pages in the Cable Act where Congress described exactly the things you're talking about and ordered the FCC to report out within 1 year of the Cable Act being implemented, which is a month from today, on the reconciliation of the incompatibility of customer equipment and the issue of the cable operator dealing with control of their services. It says specifically, it has one whole page of factors that the FCC must consider, and there's a whole other page of these are the rules that you must address. These are the things you must include. The FCC has to do certain things, require a notification to subscribers of what your equipment may or may not be able to do, so we can expect another notification requirement on the cable operators within 6 months. To watch a program on one channel while simultaneously taping one on another. To use a video cassette recorder to tape 2 consecutive programs that appear on different channels. To the extent technically and economically feasible, to offer subscribers the option of having all other channels delivered directly to the subscriber's television. These are all things that the FCC is ordered to respond to in the next month. They're issues broader than Sacramento. Sacramento's being impacted, being punched, because we've had basically the luxury of the unscrambled option on full basic for the last 3 years. But they're bigger than we are. It could very well be that the cable industry could be ordered. I'm not saying this will happen, but could be ordered by the FCC to come up with a scrambling mode that descrambles all of the authorized channels rather than just one, feeds them to your TV or your VCR in a cable-ready format, and goes forward. It could happen.
Well, then,
wait a month.
Mr. Chair, I guess my question then, since I side with this gentleman and I side on the private sector side, since the private sector is regulated in this sense by the FCC, and since our commission has an obligation to help our ratepayers, I suggest then, as we've done before with the FCC, is to go give testimony at the direct harm that this type of cable operator is doing to a new technology that our ratepayers are going out and buying.
And I'm going to appoint you as our emissary to go to the FCC.
I'll do it, Mr. Chair. I'll do it as soon as the commission wants me to. But I think there has to be a distinction here when we start talking about private industry, and I agree with Mr. Cox fully. But there comes a point in time where regulation is regulation. That's what the FCC is designated to do, and that's what this body is formed to help the FCC do. So I think we should go back to the FCC, make sure that the law that the Congress has passed is fulfilled. And obviously that one phrase in the law is not being fulfilled, or perhaps it's not being interpreted yet, and so the cable operators are looking for maybe $1 million, $2 million. I'm no mathematician either, in this interim period. But I would say that's what we should be directing staff to put together for us.
I think we've had pretty good response and good questions posed. I really think we need to move on. We've got a lot to do.
Yeah,
I concur.
I heard the cable operator say he doesn't have the technology to do that. Is that accurate or not?
I don't know what you asked.
Well, Josh wanted to know whether I agreed with him or not, and the answer is I'm not sure. What I heard you say was you don't have the technology to do what this gentleman is asking that you do.
Well, they have it. It's the way they've structured it. It's the way you structured it, Mr. Rivers.
The technology that Rich Espasto just read to you is not available today, and if it ever becomes available, maybe that's what we'll use. I don't know. I don't know what the FCC is going to determine as how we are going. That's not a ruling. That is just in the law, and there has not anything been established. As I said before, this 500-page document has not been completely deciphered by the FCC. I have obligations and rules that I have to live by, and that is the ones that are available to me. I know about my rate rollback. I know what I'm allowed to do in today's environment, and we're doing that. And we're not doing anything outside of the federal law. And therefore, if the federal law changes, I will be in compliance with the federal law. I will do what the law states.
And that's super, Mr. Chair. I guess that comes back to my point. That we should move toward the FCC to make sure that the FCC understands what this commission, whatever that viewpoint may be. I can count a couple votes now, and maybe we should analyze that for our next meeting and give the FCC some testimony.
Let's refer it to staff for further review and come back to us
and
with
see where the commission would like to go.
What you think would be a suitable approach to resolve this matter.
Because, Mr. Chair, between what Ms. Collins is saying and trying to understand, there seems to be some room if the operator had set up a little differently, and perhaps the operator saying he's abiding by the law as it is, but perhaps we could help the operator set up a little differently so that we could help this situation with this gentleman.
Well, I can assure you that we won't be changing the direction of our scrambling anytime in the future. We have already made the financial commitment to our subscriber base. We're going forward with that technology, and unless the law changes that would force me to not be able to do that, I can assure you on October 1st we will scramble.
Let me ask you a question. Can you scramble?
Wait a minute. Let's get people in order here. Mr. Costanis wanted to speak.
This is an interesting discussion, and I just want to make a comment. A few years ago, when we decided to go with the cable industry in this community, we made the decision to make sure that we did not operate the cable company. We made the decision to let the private sector handle that. And as I sit and listen to this today, I'm glad we made that decision. Secondly, hold on to your hats if you wish to continue discussing technology. As we get to fiber optics, and as Mr. Ruckert's company lays fiber optics, as the telephone company lays fiber, you're not only going to have television sets to wonder about, you're going to be wondering about your telephones, and you're going to be wondering how you're going to access this fantastic opportunity of thousands of channels. And we've just barely touched the iceberg of those problems today. And I can tell you,
I hope they're not all entertainment.
The regulations and the FCC will hardly keep up with the industry, and we're going to be sitting here wondering what action to take. So I don't know that we're really going to solve anything. I think the crystal ball is really quite foggy at this point in this area.
You will be here. I'll be gone in a year. Mr. Cox.
No additional questions, Mr. Chairman. I reserve.
Oh, you got upset because I wouldn't give you
no, and I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt. I don't want to prolong this. I think this is a dog chasing its tail.
I would agree with that.
The only one thing that I'd like to add to it is that when we did build this cable system, this was the technology you wanted. You wanted addressability. You wanted all this high tech. Then we deliver it, and now you don't want it.
No,
we want it. We just want to find out if there was another way other than scrambling.
I think we're going to have to go on with this and get to the other people. Mr. McAree.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm 56 years old, and I've never had a desire to appear before a governmental body. I've watched you at home, clenched my teeth over some things you did.
We cause a lot of teeth to be worn down.
But I have seen Kim Ruckert put the greatest act of smoke and mirrors that I've ever seen in my life. In another age, should be known as a snake oil salesman. I have sent him 3 letters in the last 8 weeks, the last one certified, heard nothing, to get that so-called film pack that he very nicely showed you in that thing. He's out for one thing only, and that's profit for his company. It's owned by Scripps Howard. When he went cable in April of '91, I went out and spent $2,800 for a cable-ready TV set. I spent $1,000 for a cable-ready VCR. I spent $300 for a universal remote and a VCR Plus. You know what the VCR Plus is, the little numbers in your thing. All of them obsolete now. And he lied about this thing about they're not going to charge you. I have 2 TV sets. One in my bedroom that I use because I'm on disability, and one in the living room as an emergency one. I'm going to need 3 converter boxes for those TVs because I want to watch TV in my bedroom and record something else. I was told that because I have rotator cuff injuries and I can't raise my arms, I called them to come out. They were going to charge me $20 because I need 3. I threatened that I would go to the Cable Commission. Up until 2 weeks ago, with all due respect to Mr. Esposito, I thought you worked for the cable company because I sent you a letter and got no response either. Everything is done. The VCR Plus, which is probably the greatest invention that I've ever seen, where you just put in 5 numbers in your TV, is not going to be able to be used. According to Jones Intercable, they're cable ready. They have the technology to do it. They're in the area. TCI Cablevision in Davis, they're cable ready and can do it. Viacom in San Francisco, which is huge, they can do it. The reason they can't do it is because they want more money. It reminds me of the store that doubles all of their prices and then runs a full-page ad 50% off. Because that's what they're doing. They went down $1.77 in the thing, but they're going to charge you $2.10 for the cable thing, and you're still not going to be able to do anything. I still don't even know whether I'm going to, because they don't even know at Sacramento Cable whether I'm going to be able to, with 2 boxes, to watch TV and record another. I called. They said, well, we're not exactly sure. We'll come out on Saturday, but we're not sure. If they're not sure, who is? Mr. Ruckert, I just talked to him before and told him I sent him 3 letters. He shrugged his shoulders. Oh, well, you know, you'll get an answer. I think that it's the biggest smoke and mirrors that I have ever seen. All of the technology, $5,000 worth of technology, is out the window so they can make more money. And I think you have to look into it because I think it's criminal. VCR Plus, everything. The Scripps Howard, who owns them, is just a huge corporation. Everything they're doing is just walking that fine line to make sure that they follow the governmental thing. And because it's so confusion, and I've sat here and listened to all of you talking, all of you there, as I am, still are not 100% sure what's going on.
Well, I'd have to agree with that.
I have 28 of 30 neighbors who still don't even know, because their mailers are so confusing that unless they get the converter box for the 1st of October, they are not going to be able to get the thing. They give you a mailer, that yellow mail he showed you, which did everything, but didn't say in big things, you must get this converter box. It starts using if you have this and if you have this. As I say, Kim Ruckert is a con man. That's all I can say. Of
He
the
can
highest
defend
order.
himself.
Mr. Chairman, I do have something to say.
And you are not doing the public well. Like I said, until 2 weeks ago, I thought you worked for them. Because when I call your office, I get nothing. And I think that I would suggest that you get someone to answer your letters. And I would also suggest that you find out about that charge, because yes, they will come out for one converter box, but if it's more than that, they're going to charge you $20, even though you didn't need them before then. So I would suggest you check further into that.
Let me ask a question of staff.
Wait a minute. Mr. Cox had a question.
Mr. Chairman, I did want to just make a comment, and I certainly appreciate the gentleman's remarks, but in all fairness, I want to give some, Mr. Pane gave some personal testimony, and I want to do the same. We're not a big television family from the standpoint that we don't have 4 or 5 televisions at home, but we do have 2 televisions.
You're a pretty good size compared to me. We only have 1.
And I was going to reply to you that ours were still black and white, but in all fairness, they're not.
Probably got me that upstairs.
But we do, in fact, have 2 televisions, and we do have 2 converter boxes. I, honest to goodness, don't know whether they were television cable ready or not. I just don't know that. From the standpoint that I do know that we have calculated our bill. We were paying $47 a month, and I must tell you that when Maggie told me we were paying $47 a month, I was shocked to find that we were paying that kind of money. We only have a couple of those channels. We have like HBO and Disney and something like that. And much to my surprise and pleasure, found that bill went from $47 down to $34. And
that's nice.
Those are the kind of numbers that I think are becoming overlooked here, that those people who were in fact paying more for services will in fact be paying less. Those people who have not been paying as much will be paying more, which seems to me that perhaps maybe I was subsidizing those people who were receiving those services and paying less. And that's just the kind of thing that goes through my mind. If I'm taking a reduction and they're paying more, it just seems to me that now that we're now beginning to see a more level playing field.
It's leveling off.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Mrs.
My
Collins.
question would be going back to the concern that was brought up regarding whether staff or even the people that did part of the engineering oversight in the build would have suggested any other option for what to do in what is obviously an interim period. In terms of were there other options, because these gentlemen are just the tip of the iceberg who testified today in terms of people who have invested lots and lots of money in what the current technology was offering them in terms of cable-ready TV. Obviously, some other communities are doing things differently. Did we ever really examine if there were ways that this could have been implemented that would have been less of an impact on our consumers or not?
He can add.
Let me just interject here that, Mr. Chairman, that we didn't because it's not within our legal ability to influence. These other companies made a decision based upon what they perceived to be their best interest in light of their customer base, and our company obviously has made a different decision, but we did not have any legal tools that would allow us to influence that decision.
Okay.
So there was
but we could have looked at it and presented that information to the community and said there were ways that the company could have done this differently and would have saved you that money. But it wouldn't have recouped the money to the company either that they were losing on some of their other
You have
services.
asked that today, and your director's made a note, and we will have that, but it'll be expert information as to the availability of the technology. There's no sense having your staff argue with Mr. Rugert. He says it's not available, and the staff says it is. So we ought to get you some expert testimony as to the availability of it. And then, but all that will prove to you is that they made a choice that was adverse. It won't prove that you had any ability. You're back in the box again of not having any ability to influence that particular decision.
I understand that, but when the cable company says it is the cable regulation that is forcing us to do this, if we question that that's true, if we question that it really is the way individual companies are implementing it that is having a lot of the impact, then at least we provide that as an information to the consumer out there. It might only make the consumer mad, but a lot of individual consumers out there have invested thousands of dollars in equipment that, as these gentlemen have testified to, it's now obsolete. Now, those are the kind of calls that I have gotten to my office. Those are probably the maddest people out there.
Wait a minute. We're not going to go back to any prior testimony. We're going to get Mr.
I only have 2 sentences.
All right, Mr. McRae, you have to come to the microphone. Say it quickly.
What they did was the minority of their business is the limited basic.
Okay.
They have actually changed to the advantage of the limited basic by not scrambling it. They have hurt the majority of their thing to make it easier for them to help the limited basic, which is a small percentage of their business. They have hurt everybody else, the majority of their business, and only because they're a monopoly. If Macy's tried that,
okay,
you would be going to some other store.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sorensen, would you like to make your comments? And this is the last speaker, and with this, then we will close this particular thing with some type of action from the board. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I must point out that I'm extremely nervous about this.
You're nervous about it?
This is our first for public speaking.
Oh, well, it's very simple. We all started out a couple of weeks ago, and now we're public speakers.
You stare at me, and I get more nervous.
Well, I won't stare at you. I'll look at Isla. She's used to me staring at her.
Okay.
All right, sir. Take your time.
My complaint, probably the biggest one that I have right now, and this man and the previous speakers really overweighed my problem, but nonetheless mine is a big one to me.
All right, sir.
Okay, and I'll preface it by saying, number one, that I am blind in one eye. And one of the instigating factors of buying cable was that I could save $4.50 a month on TV Guide. And yet, invariably, when I turn to the preview channel, all I see is a scroll that runs across the bottom. I can't read the preview guide. Now, there are a lot of people that can't read very fast and have trouble reading what the programming is. Now, the advertisement on preview guide is, we are what's on. And don't skip through the channels trying to find what's on, just turn to preview guide. And Sacramento Cable, invariably, especially when they're advertising a fight, now they know ahead of time when the fights are on, they should put that information at the top of the channel where the commercials are and leave the scrolling portion alone. The other night they had Channel 20. They messed up and put something that was supposed to be on Channel 20 on Channel 4 with a big yellow or orange stripe across the channel. Couldn't read my preview guide. Well, last week I got really mad. I came in from working on my electronics test bench about midnight, 12:30. I take my clothes off, I get in bed, I flip my TV on, and I go directly to preview guide to see what's on. And they're advertising the Disney Channel. In the scroll, not on top, but in the scroll. I can't read the preview guide. I'm 3 years upset at this. I mean, I've been talking to them, I've been talking to the Cable Commission. Nothing happens. Okay, that's fine. They won't give me a rebate on the preview guide channel that they charge me for. They just say, well, that's the way it is. Or they make me promises. A while back, they were running half-hour infomercials produced by their company. I turned to preview guide, for a half an hour. There's no preview guide. It's just their commercial. That's not what I'm paying for. So last Tuesday night, I got up and got dressed again and drove around for over an hour because it seems that this week's preview guide or TV guides are taken off the shelves on Saturday night or Sunday morning. Sunday night or Monday morning. I finally, after driving around for an hour, found a TV guide about 15 miles from my home. That's how upset I was. The reason I went driving like that was because I bought the thing. I wanted the TV guide to show them. I wanted the receipt to show them, to go with the letter that I was writing to them, and the bill, and also a copy to Sacramento Cable Commission. They credited me with they credited my account with $2. But I had to go through a lot more than that, and I should have charged them the $15 an hour, plus the mileage on my pickup, for a service that they instigated, or they said that they were providing to me when they sold me cable.
That's a matter that I think, unfortunately, you're going to have to work out with the TV, Sacramento Cable. And
I've been trying to do this for 3 years. And they say this, and they say that, and they say the other thing. And, hey, tell me, am I going to get a preview guide, or am I going to have to resubscribe to TV Guide?
Well, we'll ask Mr. Exposto to take that matter up with the people that are involved and see whether
there's a lot of people out here that can't read fast enough to read the thing the way it is, let alone with the scrawl on it.
Would you take that up as a matter of discussion for us?
Staff, we've spoken with Mr. Sorensen before. We don't have a good answer for him, however. It is a cable company issue.
Okay.
But it is something that I pay for and that I need corrected.
Are you volunteering, Kim? Come forward.
First of all, the preview guide is a service that we provide, and we have the top half of the preview guide is for various promotional services. It always has, and it recently has changed. It will be changing on and on and on. We always look for new types of services. We're looking at interactive services now for the future. But the bottom line is that a lot of the stuff that is on that channel comes out of New York. It is a satellite-fed service. We do preempt it a lot of times because it is the only service until now where we have a sneak preview channel. It is the only service that we have to talk to 100% of our subscriber base back before September 1st. So now when we do previews and when we want to talk to our subscriber base, we'll be using channel 9, I believe, which is the preview channel for our pay-per-view. But in the meantime, we are not going to modify the scrolls and things. Those things are adjusted out of New York. We give them the programming. They take our lineup. We provide them all the information. They put it on. They feed it down to us. We have a choice to use half screen, full screen. We have a choice to do, frankly, anything we want with those channels that are flexible. We try to. It is a very highly watched service. It is a program guide service. It is intended to help the customer look for what's on cable.
Thank you very much. That, I think, is going to have to be the answer. Unfortunately, I'm going to lose some members of the commission.
Buy a newspaper on Sunday and you get the...
But let me just say, commission members are going to be leaving. We still have items to cover. We're going to stop with this testimony. You're the last person to sign up. And we will have Mr. Esposito try to pursue this matter further. But I do have to get this item concluded. Mr. Costanis has a commitment to leave. And possibly other members they haven't expressed themselves, but he has. Thank you very much for your input. We have one last person, Mr. Topping. I'm going to allow you 3 minutes to cover your item, if you will. And I'm sorry to be timing you on this, but I just think we're at a time where the day is going to run by, and I'm going to lose the whole commission, and we're not going to get our business accomplished. So,
Supervisor Johnson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
What I'm afraid, what motivated me to come down here was just kind of look the plant over a little bit. We've got a thing working with some kids and some schools. I'm here in the capacity of a volunteer. We've got some students taking a look at the internet, some teachers coming online. Ran across Mr. Espasto here a few months ago, or we happened to meet online on networking, and I asked him if he'd heard about the California Technology Project, the Internet, NREN. He said, no, I haven't. I said, do you have any children? He says, yes, I do. Since then, we got him an account and got him introduced to the Internet, and I understand now, talking with him recently, he uses it 3 times a week for research. This is straight, pure educational material. He happens to be researching items of Cable Commission interest and that type of thing. During working hours, I'm certain, of course, he's got boys. What he does after working hours, that's a different thing. I noticed he did upgrade to a 9600 baud modem, he says here recently. Basically, some of the things I've heard today, I've heard Mr. Castanis, I like calling, you just mentioned you've just barely seen the tip of the iceberg. Again and again and again, I hear you discussing issues. We're talking about whether or not it'll bring the microwave on, let the dog out, do this, do that. Not once has whether or not we can interface our computer with it come up. Whether or not Channel 4, the preview guide, could be selectable. I don't like to sit there and scroll through every channel that may or may not be of interest to me. Computer users across your service area may or may not be aware of the interface that's available to them. And what I'm here about primarily is education, right now trying to raise your awareness, and it may be as fundamental as a name change. Sacramento Cable Television Commission. The word television in there puts a focus on you. Right now, nationwide, it's a flip of the coin. Who's going to have the jurisdiction over it? Who do you hear saying it? The Vice President of the United States, every time he stands up. Internet, NREN, the National Research and Education Network, okay? That's how our kids are going to be competitive in tomorrow's world. It's desperate. You really ought to change the name to the Sacramento
kind of begin to close down. You got about 8 seconds.
Digital?
Okay, Digital Cable Commission.
Thank you.
Because it's going to be a bi-directional interface you're going to have to deal with. The question is, are we preparing for that capacity? And you need to take a look at that.
Thank you very kindly.
I'd like to respond, Mr. Chairman. This morning, the commissioners of the United States Commission on Libraries and Information Services met in the State Library, and they discussed this very issue related to information services. We have an education consortium that is part of our Cable Commission. They are a grantee. They will be looking at using Internet and interfacing with computer systems for educational purposes, and we will have that prerogative to put money into this kind of effort. At that time, we need to hear from people like you who have an interest in the computer technology as it interfaces with television. And the time is coming, and we'll need you to come back and tell us again some more of the capabilities that I'm sure the education community is aware of.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Well, that pretty well covers item 1, unless there's some crying need from somebody to...
Move we receive and file.
Motion is receive and file. Please indicate your approval by the vote of aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Moving on to item 2, public hearing now declared with reference to basic tier rate regulations. Do you have any comment on that, Rich?
Mr. Chairman, these are the draft regulations slightly modified, which were presented to you at your June 3rd meeting. They include now some non-substantive changes provided by Sacramento Cable in discussion with Commission Counsel Blair. I recommend their approval.
Move adoption. Second.
Move and second to approve. Please indicate your acceptance of the motion by indicating with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to item 3, fund balance available. Rich?
June Commission meeting, you directed staff to report back the fund balance available in the Cable Television Fund. I'd like to walk you briefly through the staff report. Advise you have a letter attached to the staff report from Access Sacramento. I believe letters were delivered to you either here or at your offices this morning from the county executive and the city manager. Both the county exec and the city manager have representatives in the room. with us today, or they were here. The county exec called on the phone about an hour ago and said he's standing by if you would request his input. The cable television fund balance went up as a result of year-end calculations and also the litigation settlements we reported to you at our last meeting. The balances, as you see, are based on actual numbers at June 30th of this year, projected forward for 3 years. The staff report describes the assumptions. The chart on page 2 shows the maximum available for distribution if you were to make a distribution. I'll point out that the line which says 20% of revenue is already approved in your budget and will occur under the authority already granted. Any other distributions, again, any other, if any others, are at your discretion. End of staff comment.
Okay, are there questions of Mr. Esposito?
The recommendation of staff at this time is receive and file.
No, we have people that want to speak.
I know that, but I'm asking for staff recommendation.
This is a report back at your request. There is no staff recommendation.
No staff? Okay.
There is recommendations, however, from the county exec and city manager.
I have a question of staff.
Okay.
Rich, on page 2, under the fund balance distribution, the second set of figures, the county at 1.270 million, Sacramento at 719. These figures relate to what specifically? If we were to disperse all of our funds, this is the distribution. Is that what this says?
According to, 1, your established policy, and 2, the recommendation of distribution. As you note in the footnote below the chart, your excess liability agreement allocates how you would distribute liabilities. It doesn't allocate how you would distribute a surplus. I've recommended here that you use those same percentage allocations from your excess liability agreement for your surplus. Your separate policy on distribution of revenue says you go by population. The numbers below put both those together according to your established policies and show a what if.
They show a melded figure then?
That's correct.
So what kind of weight did you give to it to meld it?
Exactly per your policies. 1 per population for revenue, the other per your excess liability agreement of 62, those numbers there, 62, 35, 1.5, 1.5.
Mr. Chairman, you're going to take statements from the board first or statements from the public?
We're going to take them from the board first, of course.
I'd like to make a statement then. It seems to me as we look at, and I appreciate Mr. Smith and Mr. Edgar's comments, but it seems to me that as we take a look at this fund balance, there is some question of what the fund balance ought to be used for. In my mind, there is a clear understanding, at least from what my standpoint is, of what it's not. And in all fairness, I don't believe it's a revenue source for local government. As I look at this, it seems to me that there are at least 4 alternatives, one of which I think has a nice ring to it, and that is refund. If in fact we have a surplus, we ought to give some serious consideration to refunding that to the cable subscribers. The second situation is that we ought to hold it. The second alternative is we ought to hold it and not do anything with it. And/or the third alternative might be that we ought to allocate it to the community providers such as SEC, KVIE, and Sacramento Access, and whomever. And in the final analysis, there might be some situation where we might give some serious consideration to, but I'm not certain about that, to allocating it to the cities or county. Because in all fairness, it is not, and I suggest to you that we ought not to represent this as a tax. It would be viewed as a tax. I don't think that we ought to support distribution to the city or county. We might very well want to refund it, hold it, or reallocate it to the community-based organization, but we ought not to take this and convert this very small amount of dollars to either the city or the county's use. It does not make any sense. I recognize it probably falls within our jurisdiction to do something about, but in all fairness, we ought not to do that.
Okay. Any other comments from commission members? If not, we'll go to the members of the audience. David Vaca.
Good afternoon. I'm David Vaca. I'm chairperson of the SCCC. And once again, KVIE, John Hirschberger, and I stand before you because our comments are together. I want to thank all of you who took the time to meet with us, both John and I and our staff members, Jan Tillman and Liz Rhodes, this week, and thank the others of you who could not meet with us but received our faxes and let us talk to your aides. Because you know our interests are in providing the best community services that you also want to provide. You know, we have given you another document at your table today, and so I'm not going to belabor the point. We hope that you do consider, as Mr. Cox just pointed out, that the monies stay in the community cable funding area. With that, again, thank you. We look forward to seeing where this goes.
Okay.
I would only add that Commissioner Cox has pointed out perhaps 4 different alternatives, none of which I suspect you'd be ready to vote on today, and I think our recommendation is that you not vote on it today, and that give some careful thought as to how the funds might be allocated.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
One point of clarification, Ron, is this money that we're talking about, is that excess money above and beyond the money that we're allowing the grantees?
This is above and beyond a projection of your current budget for the administration of the franchise, the licensees, and the grantees.
Got it.
Okay, Mr. White, Bill White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. I'm Bill White, Chairman of the Board of Access Sacramento, and I just briefly want to call attention to the letter and the resolution that you have in your packet. I think briefly summarized, our resolution calls attention to the fact that if ever there was a time for planning and some dialogue among and between the operators here, the community operators, perhaps that time is now, and Access Sacramento would be delighted to take the lead in making that happen. But I think we need to have some direction and perhaps affirmation from you that that is what you would like to see happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very kindly. That is all the public testimony. Are there any other comments from members?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a comment. I concur with Mr. Cox. I don't think that we're in a position to take action today. But in response to the 3 grantees that have spoken, I think that you should certainly take advantage of the opportunity to do some planning, particularly as you take a look at the new technologies coming forward, the obsolescence of your equipment. I think it's time now for you to do some long-range planning and come to us with some ideas as we look at this technology and where you will be in a year, in 2 years. We will not have the money possibly then to upgrade, to do the different kinds of things that might be needed. So I think that you have an opportunity now to do some long-range planning. I think the grantees should work together and come up with some consolidation of expenses, of combined cooperative efforts that shows reduced costs, yet maintains the individual services that you provide to our community, and comes up with some plans that will keep you in business in the next few years and not shock us in a year with outlandish budgets that we know are justifiable that we cannot meet. So I think you have a time period now to do some planning, and I don't think you need other direction than to get together on your own and proceed to do that. And I see where the Education Consortium has done that, and so has KVIE, and I think Access Sacramento should do the same thing. I think your resolution, Bill, is interesting, and I think you guys ought to pursue that and work together and give us some recommendations and ideas that'll keep the grantees in business in the future. So that's my concern.
Okay. No further comment. We'll receive and file and move on to the next item.
Chairman, members, item 5 is the Video Customer Service Act, state-level legislation passed to implement baseline customer service regs. On the cable television side, those customer service standards have been superseded by your own standards and by the federal act. However, the Video Customer Service Act also brings under the purview of cities and the county customer service assistance to satellite-delivered services, people primarily in mobile home parks and apartment complexes who do not receive cable services.
Yeah.
The workload here would go under the Act to your respective jurisdictions, recommending that at no additional cost in my projections for the current year, you request that your parental jurisdictions modify your formation agreement and ask that your commission staff provide customer service assistance to people getting video provider services that are of the non-cable nature.
You got a little bit ahead of the horse here. We were on 4, I think, was the next item we were to go to.
I apologize. I jumped ahead. You're right.
That's all right. You took care of it for the moment.
I had a piece of paper covering up.
So we would like to get a status report from grantees. I think Ron Cooper had not had a chance yet to
Thank you, Mr.
speak,
Chairman.
and he had indicated he wanted to speak. And then
Could we just finish item 5, Ron, for a minute, though? Is anybody, if no one has any questions on that, I would suggest we do that, and we do that, through the attorney, making the, okay.
Move it.
I did, move it.
I'll second.
okay, the motion to move in motion in the second, Mrs. Collin and Mr. Yee, and will you please call a roll for a vote?
Well,
We don't quite have a quorum.
Oh, great Scott.
Did we lose
Where did
Dave
Cox go?
just for momentarily? Maybe we need to get a cup of coffee.
Did he go in there? Thank you. Gone?
Look at the coffee room.
Oh, his glasses are still there. He's somewhere nearby. We'll go back to 4 and then, oh, here we are.
Okay.
We have a
this
motion,
is just to move that staff report on 5 so we can get the process started.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to cancel another appointment, Mr. Chairman.
Call a roll for a vote, please.
Tell me again before...
We're on item 5, Dave. We got a brief presentation from Rich with reference to the recommending joint powers agreement, ordinance amendment to parental jurisdictions.
We have no opposition?
We had no opposition, no comment.
Second.
Okay. With that, call a roll for a vote. I got a double second on it now.
Makes it better. Grantland Johnson, Panay,
Aye.
Collin,
Yes.
Castanis, Cox,
Aye.
Yee,
Aye.
Toby Johnson.
Yes, thank you very much.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for getting out of order.
Okay, item 4, unless you had something to do.
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Cooper would be the first person, then followed by Mr. White, and then by Mr. Vaca.
Ron Cooper, Executive Director of Access Sacramento, and these are the item on the agenda in terms of summary of various activities. And before I get into the details of summarizing Access Sacramento's activities, I wanted to bring to your attention a document that been distributed. It's a goldenrod colored piece of paper. Mine's white, but basically it's a summary of the current status of the marketing efforts of the grantees, marketing community programming to the subscribers of Sacramento Cable, and and give some background as far as the way the program guide fits into that, and some directions into the future that the grantees will pursue and are pursuing. And Terry's not here to hear this, but again, this the call that that he's made and that other commission members have made over the months and years. So for collaboration, that is in fact happening. It's not someplace down the line. It does happen on an ongoing basis. And this is a summary of the most recent discussions and collaborative efforts. The bottom line is that we're moving forward, and that the program guide is going to be changing in the future because of staff and budget cutbacks, but it will be a change for the best.
Okay.
Unless there's any questions, I'll move on to the summary of Access Sacramento highlights.
Why don't you go ahead?
Great. I summarized for you on a pink sheet there some of the activities that are going on for Access Sacramento, and just very briefly, I wanted again appreciate the comments regarding KCBL radio that were made at the last commission meeting, and that those were very well received by the community program radio volunteers, and that they now include the Planning Commission meetings. Michael Reyna, the chair, is very appreciative of that. The Thursday night markets are now a regular feature.
Right.
The Blues Society and the Park, the Oak Park Summer Concert Series, we're going to try a live cable cast of that via the bulletin board service and KCBL being carried underneath it. And again, we're still pursuing how we can broaden the audience for KCBL on a 24-hour basis, and I'll keep you updated on that success. But when you see the bulletin board, you are hearing community radio, and we're trying to make the best use of that for the community. On the performance grants, just very briefly, there was a performance grant awarded to Access Sacramento. The cameras for our truck have been purchased, but the installation will take about 3 weeks. The grantees are invited to sit down, and we'll work out a calendar of 20 events as per that grant that will be covered in the coming year. If you have suggestions, those suggestions are welcome. I look back to the RFP. This is similar to what the Downtown Association was talking about, trying to cover specific events. So hopefully you and those who you represent will be in touch with us and with the other grantees to put that calendar together. Also, initial money has been dispersed for 2 other performance grant projects that have come under our umbrella, the Holocaust Memorial Lecture Series and the Edward Watch Times. These are 2 private producers who have elected to work with Access Sacramento. The board moves forward. Programming and multicultural committees have met, and in particular I want to emphasize the multicultural committee. It's an advisory committee to the board. It's separate from the committee that's working with Sacramento Cable, but we'd certainly invite, Jimmy, if in any way you can help. We'd love to see representatives that are on both committees if we could. The multicultural committee is going to be very helpful in keeping a balance, I think, as the board moves forward, dealing with very thorny issues about community values and such. And so we really want the widest representation.
Can I ask you, Ron, have you made any attempt to contact a gentleman named Robin Ware?
Robin, I have not recently, but he's been on programs and we've talked in the past.
I'm just making that as a suggestion in terms of a project that he has really spearheaded several times. I know he has a lot of people working to pull it together, the cultural calendar. And that is a...
He was on our Livewire show, I think, once talking about
it might help you with some of the previous comments you were making as well. So he has very wide contacts and certainly is aware of and pulls together a lot of the programming that's going to be going on over a year's time.
And Robin is one of those tireless people.
Tireless.
Just does a wonderful job. You're right.
Ron, on that note about multicultural, have you made any attempt to contact Andy Noguchi or Professor Chang Wang?
Andy and I have had 2 phone conversations, and I feel we have absolute free and open access to each other. We're in total agreement as far as we feel at Access Sacramento that we're going to work with Andy and the local group. That is our mission in terms of serving the diverse multicultural groups here in Sacramento County, and Andy's group is representative of these particular issues. Andy at this time has expressed to me that the group continues to pursue the support of KTSF and Sacramento Cable, trying to work out some kind of an arrangement, and wants to continue pursuing that. But again, we've met with Sacramento Cable, we've met with Andy, and those doors remain open, and I appreciate the invitation to sit down with you and see how we can continue to pursue this thorny issue. Just very briefly, the board, in the effort in terms of long-range planning, has scheduled a retreat day on Saturday, September 18th, in order to accommodate what we hope to be a 3-year plan, and hopefully interface with the other grantees as well as we've moved forward. We have spoken with Executive Director Espasto regarding the issue of what modifications are necessary to commercial use, and we would expect in October to bring back some directions that we'd like to pursue, and appreciate Rich's help on that. Let me jump, before we move on to the Bob Keller remembrance, to a brief acknowledgement, and Diane, I think, passed to Toby.
I have some resolutions here.
Great.
Signature. Diane, did you want me to bring these, or one? Diane?
2 of the 3 people are here. If we could do a brief
presentation?
Yes.
Brief presentation, appreciate it. These are resolutions. Let me just paraphrase the resolution. The Cable Users Exchange, the Sacramento Sierra chapter of the Alliance for Community Media, was honored at the Atlanta Convention as the best chapter in the United States. It was also very influential during the past very difficult months as the evaluation of Access Sacramento and the evaluation of Access Television in Sacramento was pursued. We really appreciate their efforts and appreciate the Alliance for Community Media recognizing this group as the best in the nation. And representing the Cable Users Exchange is the chair, Jan Zacharias.
Well, it's a pleasure to be participating in the presentation, and on behalf of the members of the commission, we're very happy that you were so successful, and congratulate you for your good work.
Oh, thank you very much. I should say that the Sacramento Sierra chapter of the national organization, the Alliance for Community Media, is kind of unique, that I've heard, because we are primarily made up of what we call users, okay? The volunteer people who produce and provide programming. And I don't know, I think Sacramento is unique in a lot of ways, and this is one of them. But I really would like to see recognition for all the hundreds of people in the community who have come in and really dedicated a lot of time to produce, to put Sacramento in our existence. You know, we watch TV and there's no such thing as Sacramento except on channel 17 and 18 for the most part.
14.
Right here in the city. Oh. So
14.
14 constantly.
Except, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry.
I know that, by the way, because I'm a
people who are
grazer.
doing it voluntarily, yeah. But you're right. The government channel has the live thing. In fact, I remember way back in the 60s, and I was thinking, what would TV, the best kind of TV be, you know? And I was really in a nonfiction mode at that time, and I said, the best thing we could have is if we could see everything that these government people are doing, and we could sit down and watch all this. Well, we have it now.
Ongoing episode of Shooting at
There we got it. Bang, right? So I really appreciate this recognition on behalf of all the volunteer people, particularly, who really don't feel that they get recognized. You know, they're just people don't seem to appreciate things if people are not getting paid to do it. You know, it seems to go down on a bottom rung somewhere. But I think we do have some excellent programming.
Yeah, and speaking of volunteers, I think we have many volunteers in this county who, as you say, get little or no recognition.
That's right.
And we need to get more attention.
Absolutely. I think we have been. We just need to be able to continue.
We need to expand.
Yes. Thank you.
Glad to see you, Jan, and your proud husband there. John.
That's right. And the other person who's present here today representing a program that was labeled a finalist in the National Alliance for Community Media Hometown Festival. That means one of the top 4 countries one of the top 4 programs in the country in children's programming is Joyce Christensen, the producer of the What If TV show.
Oh, how nice. That's great.
Patient person sitting here throughout the afternoon. Of course, you're learning constantly about
Absolutely.
Why your program is so good when you see outfits like us operating. But it is a pleasure to recognize your achievement and to present you with this award. And on behalf of the people who have been assembled here this afternoon, we congratulate you.
Thank you. I hope that I can bring some insight into the community, because we are working very hard to bring excellence in children's programming into Sacramento, and hope to be recognized many times nationally, but the community is not really aware of all of the things we're doing, and we have a lot of exciting things happening that we are working with education and law enforcement. So as you hear the name Children's Media Forum and What If TV show, we're out there every day working to make our program excellent, to bring recognition into the community.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the third person has moved to Oregon, and we appreciate Tara Levine and her program that was also recognized as a finalist in the contest. Moving right along to the final item in terms of the summary of activities. Many of you might be familiar with, and I think when you see this short video, if you're not, you'll be reminded of Bob Keller, who unfortunately passed away August 4th. Bob came before this body and provided much very expert and very much appreciated advice to this body and to Access Sacramento and to me personally in the short time that he lived here in Sacramento. And we're going to miss him. And Sacramento County has lost a real warrior for the rights of the physically challenged and the entire disabled community. We have a short minute-and-a-half video that'll finish up that's in remembrance of Bob, and that I also want to point out that it's the first video that we've now used to caption with our open captioning system. That we're working closely with the City Neighborhood Department and invited the other grantees as they need to. There is now a captioning system that will allow any language programming to have English captioned onto the screens, and also for the hearing impaired community. We felt
large enough type to read?
Yes. Well, you'll see for yourself.
Thank you.
It's variable. So you'll see for yourself. We felt that in introducing this technology, it was best to remember Bob. So if we could roll that tape.
Ron.
Good evening and welcome to another Advocates in Action. This evening we're going to discuss how the physically challenged community can utilize public access television, what you can do for TV and what TV can do for you. When it comes to the disabled in Sacramento, it's a horror show. They warehouse them. There are more skilled nursing facilities here holding on to developmentally disabled and mentally retarded people than anywhere I've ever been.
Bob Keller, excellent and unique community television producer, passed away August 4th, 1993. Bob's commitment and dedication for the disabled and homeless leaves a void in our community.
In 13 months, they dropped 13 wheelchairs off of their lifts because they wouldn't put an 89-cent spring on the safety gate on the end of the lift.
Bob accomplished more for his community in his short time on this earth than most people do in a lifetime, and he will be missed. The Bob Keller Memorial Get-Together will be held at the Art of Pasta restaurant located in Old Sacramento on Sunday, September 12th at 4 p.m. Reservations are not required.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
Thank you, and that concludes my presentation unless you have any questions.
Well, it was a very nice tribute to Bob, and we thank you for bringing it to us this afternoon.
Thank you.
David Vaca, do you have some additional comments you'd like to make on this matter? Here comes Hirschberg. I call you, and I always get Hirschberger,
we're both
too.
Coming up.
Screw
the Bobbsey twins. We're the same two that were here before, John. We don't know Kim Rucker.
He's going first this time.
Dave and I would just like to report on the status on the Community Program and Cooperative Ventures. We have been working together as the Commission suggested that we should some time ago. You have a one sheet before you that has twin logos on it.
Right.
There are 4 bullets. We've been working particularly with on the technical aspects of consolidated playback feasibility study. We're working with the Sacramento Cable Company and the grantees looking at the possibility of getting fiber into the building and other consolidated playback aspects of consolidated playback, including what the cost would be to do that. We're looking at various promotional joint ventures, co-location of office facilities. SECC, we're very pleased to say, will be moving in with us on, I think, December 16th, or in that general vicinity. And collaboration on special events, and we do have one coming up in October, cable in the classroom, something that's last year was done, and previous years has been done by SECC and out at the Radisson Hotel. Now it's moving to KVIE, and we'll be a joint sponsor along with Sacramento Cable. So we are beginning to work together, and we'll be continuing this study, particularly with regard to production, distribution, training, and administration, and hope to come back to you in the very near future with further plans for consolidation.
Thanks, John.
I'd like to add a little bit on SECC, if I may. I'm pleased to report to you that both our educational channels 21 and 22 are now programmed 24 hours per day. Inside your new Instructional Resources Guide, 1993-94, you'll find a one-page description of our newest service to Sacramento, SCOLA, International News on our Cable 21. You'll notice a considerable number of foreign countries represented. The news is carried in the language of the country. The SECC has no control over the scheduling in that we access the programming live via satellite. SECC is authorized to carry this programming at no cost, courtesy of University of California, Office of the President, and UC Davis. We thank Sacramento Cable for their considerable assistance in working out the technical end. Extra copies of the schedule are in the back of the room. In addition to both of our educational channels operating 24 hours a day, SECC is carrying live credit courses on 3 additional channels, and I'd like to publicly thank and acknowledge Rich Espasto and you for letting us borrow Metro Cable Metro 14 5 days a week from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. for credit college telecourses. Rich has been extremely helpful and supportive in this effort, and we thank him. We'd also like to thank KVIE for letting us borrow Channel 7 for live credit classes, and we appreciate Access Sacramento letting us borrow Channel 18 for live credit classes. This is an extremely exciting time for SECC in that the requests for service are increasing. We've grown our 2 channels, viewership is up, and most importantly, enrollment in our distant learning classes is skyrocketing. We thank you for your support in making this happen. And I thank you.
Thank you, Dave, for taking time to give us that information.
I just don't want to spend any money. That's all.
No, they should go back. More green slips. I was just going to say no more green strips, Darby, but strips or slips or whatever they might be. Okay, moving on to item 6, performance grant status.
Chairman, members, if you take the comments that Mr. Cooper made about the performance grants as they apply to Access Sacramento, expand those to the totality of community programming, that's it. They are in process. The first quarterly report is due at the end of this month. We had on the calendar in your direction back from May to report back today. All I can say is they're in process. We'll have formal reports next meeting.
Okay. Any questions by members of the board? If not, we'll go on to the final point of our agenda. I have one person who has indicated they would like to speak. Kirk Wicking. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and Commission members. My name is Kirk Wicking. I'm from Sacramento City College. I'll just take a brief moment. I want to also thank Rich Espasto and his staff for allowing us to provide programming on Channel 14 5 days a week. It's called our Los Rios Business Connection. We're scheduled for the year. And my reason for bringing it to your attention is I've listed all the people that are involved. There's a lot of talk about cooperation and participation, and I just want to show it is working. We have evidence of it here, and I'm particularly pleased we got the Small Business Administration to also fund some of this. So this is just for your information and to thank Rich and his staff.
Well, it's very good information, and we thank you for coming down to enlighten us on this matter. And we're going to close the day with a very distinguished member of the audience. Mr. Kim Ruker has one final.
Again?
I understand he wanted to speak on. Pardon? Cancel it? Oh, okay.
Oh no, we didn't want to intimidate you.
It's on a subject that has been canceled.
Move to adjourn.
I think intimidation is possible.
Second to adjourn. This meeting is adjourned. We thank you all for being in attendance. We'll see you next meeting. We did have some questions. Before the board members leave, let me, before this adjournment takes place, there has been some discussion about the possibility of going back to our quarterly meetings as opposed to the monthly meetings that we've had during the spring of the year and since last October, I think. What is the general thinking of the board? Do you want to discuss this at the moment, or would you rather take it up at another time? Do you want to make any comments?
The next meeting would be the first Thursday in October. That would be the 7th.
Let's discuss it then.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just discuss
It's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to put it on the agenda for discussion by the...
Yes, sir.
Okay, that
Thank you.
does...
Nice job, Mr. Chairman.
winds up finally and officially.